yesterday, also with his 40-point game, by the way, his overhit in the way I played. So the overhit, which is always nice. And the Sixers covered, side note. But Joel Embiid with his 40-point game passed Wilt Chamberlain on the 76ers all-time scoring list. Now, Wilt obviously didn't play his entire career for the Sixers. There's the Warriors involved, obviously. And then, of course, there's the Lakers out there at the end of his career. But the vast majority with the 76ers. But to pass that name on this list for this team all-time, regardless, whenever you pass the name Wilt Chamberlain, you're doing something right, needless to say. And I continue to be dazzled. Embiid had 2 threes yesterday. He had some great post-ups, had some great assists as well. Also got you 10 rebounds. This is the style of play that you can always go back to with Daryl Morey, and you think to yourself, how much do you really need before the All-Star break, or before the trade deadline on Thursday, by the way? How much do you really need to add to this team to become a legit championship contender? The answer to that is still another star player. I know James Harden's name is still very much out there, despite whatever they want to say with Steve Nash at his press conferences with the Nets. They just lost 8 in a row, I believe it is now. That's insane. So James Harden's name's out there. Bradley Beal's name's out there. On the very lower scale, a guy like CJ McCollum's name is out there. But right now, how much do you really need? And I think to win an NBA championship, you still need to add a James Harden, a Bradley Beal, someone of that ilk that can come in here and be a legit scorer between Tobias Harris and Joel Embiid, assuming Tobias Harris is still here in Philadelphia when you do pull the trigger on a trade. The question is what you're willing to give up. And it doesn't feel right to me. Like, looking at James Harden right now, I know it's the sexy name, and he definitely has a lot left in the tank. But I got to be honest, I have this awful gut feeling about getting James Harden in Philadelphia. It goes again. Like, I look at the numbers, and I try not to be a numbers guy, but when you're considering you could be mortgaging your future to win now with James Harden at 32 years old, I don't know if it's just that nervousness of this better work out, and if it doesn't, then Maxey could be gone, and Thibault could be gone, and you would have tried to make this big run with Joel Embiid and James Harden, and it didn't work out. And in a way, and I felt like this for a while, even going back to 2 years ago when Daryl Morey was considering trading James Harden for Ben Simmons, then I would have done that deal. Like, even like throwing Ben Simmons, absolute throw in Ben Simmons. That would have been the deal. It would have been a throw-in. But Ben Simmons being involved in that deal, yes, do it. Right then and there. 31 years old, 30 years old, 31 years old at the time, make the deal. Get James Harden here in Philadelphia. Would have done that deal then. But now that I don't know how much Ben can really get you back, and I know money-wise, you're going to have to throw in again. You're going to have to get Ben involved in this deal. You're going to probably have to get Maxey, Thibault, some of these other guys involved in the deal to bring James Harden here to Philly. Now he's 32 years old. And I'm thinking, this is the big swing. This reminds me, in a way, for much different reasons, it reminds me of, all right, one almost last-ditch effort, it feels like. Because you never know how long Joel Embiid's going to play. You never know how long he's going to play at this level. But if James Harden comes here to Philadelphia, it almost feels like, just in terms of what you're going to get in the return on this trade, it feels like Chris Webber. In a much different, obviously James Harden come here, still has a lot more left in the tank, can still be a great scorer for this team. I'm not comparing the talent level of the two. I'm comparing the expectations. Like, what can we squeeze the last out of Allen Iverson by getting Chris Webber here? And what can we really make sure we get out of this with James Harden and Joel Embiid? This team with James Harden and Joel Embiid blows that team out of the water, and that's why I even hate making the comparison. But I'm just saying, expectations-wise, it's you better do it. It's the Dikembe Mutombo would probably be a better type of analogy. Oh, you're bringing Dikembe in here. You're trading away Theo Ratliff, a guy everybody loves, right? Nazi Mohammed, Pepe Sanchez, Temple's own, and you're bringing in Dikembe Mutombo. And you're trying to make that push for a championship. That was the big swing, and when you really boil it down, it was a miss. They made it to a championship, but they didn't win the championship. The goal was to win a championship. And James Harden, here's what makes me feel good about getting James Harden. The fact that if you do bring him in here, it's the best chance you've had since the Mutombo deal to win a championship. You combine him with Joel Embiid, then this offense can really go to new levels. Defense, not so much. But offensively speaking, this would be a clicking on all cylinders type of offense. I would hate to see Max or Thibault go anywhere for anyone. I want them to stay here in Philadelphia, but you can't let those guys get in the way of getting James Harden here in Philadelphia. And I know a lot of people look at Daryl Morey and they say, well, he looks at James Harden, that's the guy he's got to get back. But I've had this feeling for a long time with Morey. I almost feel like the James Harden deal is like too obvious. I almost feel like it's almost below someone like Daryl Morey, where no, he's going to come up with a smarter deal, a better deal for this team that'll make this team even better. But it's an odd thing. All the reports say he wants Harden. The reports come out that Harden is still pretty much available. And the reports come out also saying that James Harden is not so happy being in the Brooklyn Nets organization right now when he thought he was going to be joining some super team. And now that really hasn't worked out. Roster-wise, yeah, sure. But Kyrie Irving is only halfway available, even less than that since the start of the season, even dating back to last year. Kevin Durant has had his injury issues. James Harden is the guy. Supposed to join a super team, and now he's in the Houston North, basically. Certainly, again, on paper, much better. But in terms of what he's actually having to go through so far this season, running that offense, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult. So come join Joel Embiid. Seems to work out for everybody. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine one of those situations where Joel Embiid either brings the ball up or gets the ball at the foul line extended, dribbles down to the block, gets double teamed, then all of a sudden he kicks out two? Not Furkan Korkmaz. Not George Niang. Not even Tobias Harris. Not even Tyrese Maxey. Not even Seth Curry. He kicks it out to James Harden. Yeah, that gives you a pretty good feeling.